Good morning everyone. Welcome back to a new video. Man, I don't know about you guys, but it has been such a weird time. Like, I'm looking out the window. The sun has risen today, thankfully, as it always does. I can hear some of the birds chirping outside, and for all intents and purposes, things look normal. And yet, I still feel a bit off, you know? I'm not sure if you guys are also feeling that way. Could just be in my world. Let's be honest, these last 8 months or so, my mental well-being and my emotions have kind of been all over the place. You know, there are days that I wake up and I feel really good, you know, and high spirits, ready to take on the day. And then in more days than I would like lately, I wake up and I just feel like in this very low slump, stuck. But funny enough, you know, in this kind of era of stuckness that I'm in currently, something lately has begun to shift. I came across this podcast scrolling on YouTube, my favorite platform, and I came across a podcast hosted by Mel Robbins, who is a New York Times bestselling author. I don't know if you've read her book, The Let Them Theory, but if you haven't, I highly recommend that you check it out. It's such a powerful read. But anyways, in this interview, she was speaking to, or her guest that day was another world-renowned best-selling author called Dr. Martha Beck. And in this interview, Dr. Beck said something that kind of hit me hard. She said, when you're feeling stuck in this very low place, like, you should really lean into that, because those are signals that your brain is trying to give you to tell you, I'm about to give you a breakthrough. Let me tell you, that one line hit me hard. I can't tell you why. You know, maybe subconsciously it was something that I had been wanting to hear, or perhaps something even I needed to hear. But she goes on to say that in the midst of that stuckness, that very low point, if you just lean into it, your brain will tell you, or maybe perhaps give you an idea, something that you would have never have imagined. And then I just became overjoyed with thought that, like, wait a minute, there is something that I really wanted to do with my life, and I planted that seed many years ago, and then I just kind of forgot about it, left it in the darkness, and then, you know, as life is lifing, things kind of just pile on top of it and you forget about it, you know? But then a few months ago, I would say kind of in the midst of the height of my depression, probably sometime last year, fall time frame, I had this dream. And I don't know if you've ever had an experience where you have a very vivid dream, but then you wake up and instantly you forget about it, like poof, the minute your eyes open, but you know you had a very strong dream, but you can't really remember what it was. Not this case. I remember this dream as if I actually experienced it. So basically, I am dreaming that I'm walking the factory floor, which appeared to be a large manufacturing building. I'm being guided by a man, someone who I don't think I know. It's crazy how the brain kind of comes up with people in your mind, but he didn't look familiar to me. And anyways, this whole experience is if I'm kind of like floating over myself, watching myself have that experience. And I look down at my face and my grin is like from here to here, like grinning so hard. And that's it. That's the whole dream. You know, no plot twist, no flying pigs, nothing sensationalized like that. Just me kind of can't believe I'm having this experience. And without any other context, the crazy part is that me watching myself have this experience, like I knew what was going on and why I was there. I knew deep down. It felt like something that I had envisioned a long time ago actually coming true. It felt like purpose. Dr. Beck defines purpose as that which brings you the greatest satisfaction and joy while contributing the same to others. She says that you should track your purpose by the joy in your body. And if it feels like freedom, go that way. So here I am, talking to this camera, about to do something that scares the hell out of me, but also feels like freedom. Because like Neo in The Matrix, my favorite movie, I've been down the road I'm on for some time now, and know where it ends. And I've realized in the midst of all this chaos, this corporate life is no longer what I want. Okay, enough of the philosophical talk. Let's get into the reason I presume you're here, which is the reason I'm here. I have reached a point in my suffering on the corporate hamster wheel where it has actually been a gift. I never thought I would say that, but amongst all of the chaos that has been occurring at my job, my country, and the world, you know, in a weird way, it has allowed me to recalibrate my internal compass. And for a myriad of reasons, all of which I won't get into in this video, I now know that my true north is no longer pointing me in the direction of my corporate career, but has rather been pointing me towards entrepreneurship. What the fuck? Y'all, I don't know shit about entrepreneurship. I don't know anything about owning a business, being a founder, all the things. Zip. But what I do know is that no experience in life is wasted. I've been a transactional paralegal for years. Contracts, deals, deadlines, that was my world. But when I got married 6 years ago and we moved overseas, the husband is in the military, I took a sabbatical and traveled a lot. That's when the seed was planted. Traveling constantly, I realized most luggage out there didn't fit me. Fast forward, after waking up from that dream, I had a name that I really liked and had just kind of kept in my pocket for the right time, I guess. And I thought to myself, okay, you know, what if I actually tried to do this? And so I purchased a domain under that name. I think it was like $26 for the 3 years, very nominal. And I didn't do anything with it for months until a few weeks back when I decided that I would kind of float the name to my friends and my family for their input. They absolutely love the idea of me starting my own luggage brand, because anyone who knows me knows that I'm an avid traveler and that I also take my organization in my bags very seriously. And so naturally they love the idea. However, they were not huge fans of the name. So then I ended up speaking with another good girlfriend of mine who I had met when I was on a deployment in India. And she recommended an alternative. And I loved it. I really loved it. So from there, I started drafting, kind of crafting a brand story, shared that with my friends and my family for their feedback, and Saman Baggage was born. It's so crazy to even say that out loud. I sound insane and delusional, but also really proud of myself that I was courageous enough to even take the first step, you know? And secondly, because this name, it's not just about choosing the name. I did like them both. But this name I felt really encapsulated not just my story, but the story I wanted to share about this brand. Oh, and by the way, I probably should have done this at the start of this video. I just realized I did not introduce myself. For those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. I'm happy that you're here. Hi, I'm Sade. And just a little bit about myself so that maybe this kind of makes a little bit more sense. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, and I am a second generation Afro-Cuban American. And so thinking about the story that I wanted to tell for this brand, I immediately thought of my grandmother, who was a Cuban refugee and who fled in the middle of the night on a rickety boat with my aunt, who was 2 years old at the time, and a single bag. That bag wasn't just luggage. At least for the span of that very scary and risky trip, it was her home. I cannot imagine packing for a trip like that, where you're packing up your entire life, your fears, your hopes, your infant child, and entrusting that a bag can carry it all. My past, present, and my hopes for the future. So this brand, I want it to be in honor of her courage and her sacrifice. And for millions of people like her around the world who pack their entire lives into a bag, even if for temporary reasons, travel for leisurely purposes or for more permanent purposes where you're going to go plant your roots elsewhere, so that generations of kids like me can have the opportunity to shape our own lives and to be able to build a life worth fighting for. Earlier I mentioned I lived in India for a time. Comment below if you've ever lived in India or visited, but wow. Living in India cracked me wide open. Mentally and physically, I ate so much Indian food, traveled as much as I could as I was there during the pandemic, and tried to study a bit of Hindi, and realized language, like luggage, is a container. Hindi has absorbed influence across cultures and still remain Hindi, evolving but rooted. It's incredible. And that's what I want Simone baggage to be, generational, cross-cultural, timeless. A bag that not only carries your essentials, but your legacy, your experiences, and the way that you grow and evolve as a person as a result of seeing the world. So, as far as branding goes, a bit of advice. Take it with a grain of salt. But instead of just thinking about the product, I encourage you to also think about what story it is that you want to tell, and whether that story represents who you are as a person and what it is that you want to share with the world. So we've got a name, we have a story, we have a spark, but still no business experience. Now what? Well, the good news is that as opposed to back in 2008 when I first had this idea, you and I have far more resources at our fingertips. YouTube, as an example, there are tons of free online courses, and then also AI. And so in doing my research and watching other content creators, small business owners, and founders who've blown up and are so gracious to kind of share their testimonies, I also decided to kind of prompt ChatGPT, who's been my mental health and business guru these last couple of weeks, to see if my brand name, my story, some of the ideas and concepts that I have made any sense at all. I also asked Chat, being that I have zero experience and no capital, what is the single most important thing that I can do in my position where I stand today to help me move from a learning phase into action? The response? Chat basically created a 2-year roadmap for me, broken up into 3 phases. I'm currently in phase 1, so that's basically all I'll be discussing in this video. But of course, if you feel somewhat invested in this journey and kind of want to see where the yellow brick road leads us, you're always welcome to subscribe down below. Obviously, it would be far less scary if I had a supportive community behind me, someone I could bounce ideas off of and give me constructive criticism. I'd really appreciate that. But anyways, let's dive into this phase in the hopes that maybe you can get a little bit of inspiration for your brand. Okay, if you see me on my iPad, bear with me. I have some notes and I want to try and get through these quickly. So at the start of phase 1, Chat recommended that I immerse myself into learning as much as I possibly can about this industry. In this case, luggages. Learn a little bit more about product development and just basic business skills, which means studying existing brands, what makes them successful or not, understanding customer pain points. I spent hours and hours and hours online reading Google reviews, the reviews on some of the brand websites, and a website I think called Trusted Pilot, just kind of reading reviews and seeing what customers are complaining about. What are their pain points, right? I also spent a lot of time learning about the different types of materials that are used to make luggages and the design and manufacturing techniques and kind of what goes into making quality luggage. Who are the top suppliers? Where are they located? A lot of the manufacturers I learned have their own YouTube channels, which was so cool to kind of see the product line and see how things that we use every day are made. So if you haven't done that and you're curious and you're wanting to make a product, see if the manufacturers are out there have their own YouTube, and they're just so you can get a sense of what manufacturing is like. It's very insightful. Chat also recommended, in terms of me developing my business acumen, that I read a lot of business books and just consume business related content. So for one, I've been spending a lot of time on YouTube. If you see my algorithm now, most of it is like testimonies from founders and how they came to build their brand and their businesses, as well as small business owners and creators. It's also been forums like, different industry news and industry organizations who kind of host panels of people in all different sides of the industry to kind of gain some knowledge that way, learning about the different trends in the industry, supply chains, tariffs, which is a hot button issue now. And lastly, chat recommended that I kind of reach out and talk to people in the industry, manufacturers, industrial designers, engineers, things of that nature. One thing I do want to do on my channel at some point in the future is actually go to some of the legacy, stores, luggage stores in my community, and kind of just tour, look at some of the products. What kind of different products it is that they're offering, or maybe just go to like a solo proprietor's luggage shop where they sell all different kinds of luggage. Hopefully they will be open to kind of offering me some insight, what business is like on their side, and for brick and mortar type of sales, and give me some insight on what it is like selling luggages and what are some of the things that they're hearing from their customers. So basically the goal of phase 1 is to kind of build a solid foundation of knowledge so that when you're ready, you can take action and make informed decisions. I'll also say that learning has helped me kind of evolve the vision of my brand and start to think in terms of, what problem will my product solve and who in the market am I trying to target? Of course, the goal would be to target to everyone. But honestly, think about how many people in this industry kind of look and represent folks who look like me. Not very many. And so a part of my brand ethos is the story you carry, pun intended. And I want that story to be representative of everyone and how we connect our stories and our journeys to the people that we meet when we're on the road who might be different from you and I. For me, that is the most beautiful part of travel, and my favorite thing about it is that I get to experience someone else's culture and learn something about it and then kind of incorporate that into, my worldview and how I, see life and share my story with people. So these are a lot of questions, and it was a lot of things to think about. And over time and throughout the weeks, being a nerd, I got to a place then where I felt more comfortable kind of creating or starting to create a mood board, envisioning what the product would look like, envisioning different color schemes, the aesthetics, and just other inspiration of future things that I would like to do with the brand. I also started to kind of sketch some things out, as poorly as my sketching is, but this part is so much fun. It's so much fun to kind of see your vision materialize into something that is tangible, even so early on in the stage. And all of this that I just described has cost me $0. Nothing. The only thing that has cost me is my time. So now that I feel like I've kind of built up some momentum in phase 1, we're starting to now enter into phase 2. So my research continues, but into phase 2, chat recommends that I take steps now to help validate some of my ideas, which means that I consider hiring maybe an industrial designer, a product or mechanical engineers to help assist with some of the concept development, maybe help do some renderings based off the sketches that I've done, and eventually prototype some of these ideas. So scary, so scary, but here we go. And spoiler alert, in the next video, hopefully you'll hear more about this, but I did end up reaching out to an industrial designer on a site called Fiverr, and I thought his experience was really impressive, and I really liked his profile, and I feel like, our business relationship could have really great potential. We have been in discussions back and forth about the scope of his services, and because I work in the legal field, I drafted a non-disclosure agreement, which I think is very important, guys, if you're thinking about sharing your ideas, your original ideas with someone, that you protect your intellectual property rights. So now that that has been signed, sealed, and delivered as of yesterday, I shared with him, all of my documents, my product profiles that I drafted, the product requirements document that ChatGPT also recommended in phase 1, and all of my sketches and a bunch of other things that I did to kind of give him an idea of my brand. And so next part, we'll discuss more about it and start to really develop this concept that I have in this little crazy experiment that I have of, creating my own luggage brand. Insane. So, if you're someone who has also been feeling stuck, I really hope that this video gave you the, little nudge that you need, and, maybe start to water that idea or dream that you planted a long time ago. And if you're down to follow me on this journey and want to share your experiences, I would love to hear it. Please comment down below, moments where you have felt stuck, or maybe some ideas that you have for brands or businesses and other aspirations that you would like to fulfill. I would love to hear from you in the comments. How cool would it be for us to be able to grow together, right? Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Sorry it's a little bit long, but I appreciate you being here. I'm Sade, the founder of Saman Baggage. So crazy. But thank you. Thank you for being here. Sending you lots of love and light, and I hope to catch you in the next video.